What is up? Welcome into Lambo Speak, episode number 7. This is a Toilets to Titles production. I am Nate. You can find me on Twitter at Nate_Dirt19. I am joined, of course, by Mr. Bobby Winters. You can find him on Twitter at Bobby A. Winters. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Doing good. I feels good to be back in the seat. I had really nice plans of recording last week from vacation, but it was pretty much like dial-up internet, even with the Wi-Fi. So my wife was trying to stream like Netflix on the computer at nighttime, and it wouldn't even do that. I'm like, I'm not even going to try to record a podcast. This just isn't going to work out. So luckily, Joe stepped in. I appreciate that. You guys knocked her out of the park like I expected. So we're back talking about free agent wish list. For this upcoming year, there's still, after I looked today, there's a ton of good guys. They're out there. A ton of just great pieces. I think anybody would benefit from having. I know. I will say I didn't dig into like the contracts a ton. I think we kind of know what some guys will command and what some guys won't, or they're not going to take I wasn't saying a vet min contract, but a lower contract. But we don't really expect them to. So, anyways, you can find the show on Twitter at Toilets Titles. You can also find us on Threads at Toilets Titles. I just started running that with Dennis, and it's the same thing as Twitter. But we're on there. Check us on Instagram at Toilets Titles, Facebook. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button. We would appreciate that. You can find us all our content, mock drafts, articles, everything we're doing, our rankings. I believe redraft rankings will be coming out at the end of this week, but all on the website, toiletstyles.com. Check out our sister network as well for all your college football needs, CFB Nation, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. You can find them as well. Please throw us an Apple Podcast, iTunes review. We would appreciate that. And last but not least, of course, if you want to interact with the team, whether you're talking NFL, fantasy football, college, gambling, there's a free page on there where our Playing with House Money guys put some bets in there every week, almost every day, actually. And it's free, and they have been extremely hot. They have a Discord that they charge money for that is even, it's hot too, obviously, but it's got a few more plays than the free one does. But it's something to check out. Scott Fishbowl is drafting right now. So that's obviously the bulk of the chat at the moment. But let us know if you want in. It's free. You can hit me up, hit Bobby up, or Coach Sheps, and we'll get you in there. And last but not least, we got a new sponsor for the show, Rival Fantasy. And I'm pretty excited about it. I'm actually recording the first episode of a new show tomorrow night with my dude, Justin. So be on the lookout for that. And just check it out.
Hey everyone, we here at Toilets to Titles are crazy excited to announce that we now have an affiliation with Rival Fantasy. It's a new betting website that is unlike anything that you've ever seen before. It's not traditional bets. There's a lot of prop bets. There is a special game that they have, a bingo game that's actually extremely fun. I've played their bingo card a little bit with their Major League Baseball, but the NFL is right around the corner, and we know that you've been pouring money into DraftKings. You've been pouring money into all the other places like that. But here's the thing. Like I said, these bets are nothing like that. And since it's a new site, you probably don't have an account. And for a first-time sign-up, they will match your deposit. But here's something a little extra special for you. They'll match that up to $200. So let's say you drop $200 in that new account, and it's now at $400. But if you use this right here and go to joinrival.com/titletribe, just like you see here on the screen, then they're going to kick in an extra bonus $25 just for using our code. And that's up to $200. So if you don't want to drop that much cash on a new site, whatever you drop in there up to $200, they will match, and you'll get the $25 automatically. If you want to go to the website itself and look around first, and you're already on rivalfantasy.com and you're searching around, and then you decide, you know what, this does look pretty fun. You click to start a new account. Make sure you hit that promo code TitleTribe right there. Have fun with it, guys. And we're also going to have a new weekly show rolling out this week for Rival Fantasy and all the different ways to bet on the site. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
There it was. Like I said, check it out. I'm not sure when we're dropping the new show, but we're going to record it tomorrow night. So pretty excited about that. It is fun. I've been messing around that site for, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks now. And it's way different than, anything else. So yeah, let's get into it, man. I kind of long-winded there with all the stuff we got to go through. So
Yep.
like I said, we're just talking, top 5 free agents that we would like the Packers to pick up. We're also towards the end going to kind of like talk about some wishful ones that wouldn't happen, but and I don't ever feel that we make a big splash in free agency. I know like Devondre Campbell obviously was a big one. Rasul Douglas, guys like that come to mind. But I don't, every single year, it's same with the draft, same with free agency, you're like, oh, that'd be great. But, I don't expect anything because it just seems like we don't ever do much.
Right. Yeah. Especially during the Ted Thompson years. That was one of the things that he was highly criticized for. I mean, he did have some free agent pickups, like obviously Charles Woodson and everything, or Julius Peppers, but he doesn't do like what Brian Gutekunst does, where he fills in the edges of the roster with some street free agents that, maybe like the guys that you mentioned, like when we signed Devondre Campbell, we didn't pay him millions of dollars. I mean, we picked him up off the street. I think it was close to the vet minimum, honestly. And he just ended up turning out to be a great player for the Packers and then earned himself a second contract. And the players I had picked, some of them are far-fetched, some of them are kind of like dream listy, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I do, anybody on this list, I do see a way for it to happen. There isn't somebody on there where I'm like, this will never happen, but I put them on my list, So I think all of these are realistic to an extent. As you get closer and closer to my number one, I think they get more and more realistic.
Heck yeah. Well, do you want to start first then with your number 5?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was saying before in the pre-show, I think my number 5 is kind of a throwaway, but my number 5 is Matt Ryan. So Matt Ryan is technically still a free agent. He hasn't retired. And we know Matt Ryan landed a new job as a broadcaster on CBS. So I don't know how much money Matt Ryan's making working for CBS, and it's probably a lot more money than he would earn being a backup quarterback in Green Bay. So that's why he's my number 5. But I picked him as my number 5 because Matt LaFleur worked with him in Atlanta. He knows the system. He knows, probably not the entire playbook, but I'm sure he would be able to come in and work with Jordan Love and help him understand and get ready and, be like, that guy on the sideline with the clipboard. And when the offense comes off the field, he goes up to Jordan Love and goes, "Hey man, this is what you did wrong." You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's valuable, valuable enough to be on my top 5, but not valuable enough to be more than number 5.
Yeah. I wanted to put a quarterback on there because I feel like we need a veteran backup of some kind.
100%. Yes.
I'm excited to see Sean Clifford in the preseason. I think Danny Etling's still the third guy, got some wheels, like sure it's fun, but and as much as I've always made fun of like Teddy Two Gloves, like even a guy like him, and Carl Wentz, I don't know. I feel like he thinks he's still a starter.
Yeah.
You got what I said there. I know you would. But and I don't know if he's necessarily the guy I want sitting there to help, but I think they got to find somebody to help because it's just going to be, what if, and that anyways, we don't need to harp on that, but I like that. I really do. I think it'd be awesome. My number 5 is this one, kind of the same. Yannick Ngakoue. I want more help on the defensive side of the ball. We don't know when Rashawn Gary is going to be back. I know he's bounced around a lot, and it's kind of left more desired than he's. I guess he had a good. I think in 21 when he was on the Raiders, he had like 12 sacks. Played really well that year, and I think he probably wants too much money though. But I think I would welcome him in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Maybe there is something there that we don't know. And that's why he has been on like 6 teams in 4 years or something like that.
Yeah, I looked into that actually because I wanted to put him on my top 5. And I'm like, man, why is this guy not signed? Like, I feel like he produces, like this guy gets sacks. So I started looking in and I started reading a couple of articles. I looked him up on PFF, and it's because his run defense grade is
Terrible.
atrocious. Oh, it's so bad. And I'm like, oh, that's
like
the last
5,
thing the Packers need right now.
Hey, he's a third down guy. Third down
for sure.
guy.
For sure.
Who you got for 4?
All right, number 4, I have DeAndre Hopkins. So I don't have him higher because, as I alluded to earlier, I think that the closer I get to number 1, that it should be more realistic. Now, he is clearly the best remaining free agent on the market, in my opinion. In whatever 9 games last year, like he said in his tweet, he was on pace for 1,400 yards. If he had played the whole season, if he wasn't suspended, that he would have produced again. The guy is extremely talented. He has huge hands. He catches everything, and like we were talking about in the last episode with me and Joe, I mean, right now, the Packers, their wide receiver core and really all their pass catchers, they're very, very young. You don't have somebody that you can go into this season knowing that you can rely on them to be a sure thing catch on like a third down when you need to just move the chains. And DeAndre Hopkins would be that. Now, obviously, the Packers are going to try to win every single game that they can this season, but nobody's expecting them to come out and compete for a Super Bowl. So why would you spend the money on DeAndre Hopkins when you can let the young guys flourish and grow together with Jordan Love? And I get that. But also at the same time, you want to make Jordan Love look good. If he comes out and he's throwing to guys who maybe don't have the offense down right away or are still, developing, having somebody out there who catches everything, who runs routes really smoothly and will make your young quarterback look good could help him build confidence and also help the team, have confidence in him moving forward. So that's why I have him at number 4.
Hell yeah. I think it would be awesome to have, that's another thing you need, a vet receiver. And I know he's definitely past his prime, but he's definitely got 2,000 or 3,000 yard seasons left in him without a doubt in my mind. And especially it'd be harder. I think him and Christian Watson would almost be like, they would be like 2 number 1s just because I don't think, Watson's going to command the number 1 cornerback. I don't think somebody's going to follow him necessarily. But I think there's a lot of places where Hopkins would flourish. I'd love to see him in Green Bay, but the whole money thing is
right.
Yeah. They're not going to.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned the money thing. That was actually one of the main reasons why I had him at number 4. So right now the Packers have just a little bit over 14 million in cap space. And the number that keeps getting floated around for Hopkins is 15 mil because that's what Odell Beckham Jr. got. So if the Packers did want to sign this guy to like a 1-year, $15 million deal, they would have to start making roster moves, which I don't think that they're ready to do just to sign this guy for 1 year. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, if he were the difference in you competing for a Super Bowl or not, then yeah, you spend the money. But I don't think 15 million is what the Packers are looking to spend on anybody, let alone a wide receiver that would only be around for a year.
Should have done it last year. He was available. They just didn't try hard enough.
Right.
My number 4, Casey Hayward, bring him back. Why not? Doesn't have to be the guy. Obviously Jair's there, Rasul, who's older, but not 33 like Casey Hayward. And I think it helps Stokes along. Shamar Jean-Charles is still there, kind of who knows what he's going to be. But I just think another vet on defense that's been there, done that, and he's always been solid. I think he'd be cheap. But to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he did get signed. Maybe. You never know. So.
Yeah, the Packers over the last 10 years have loved to do that. They bring back some of their vets that they've let go, and they come, like Tremont Williams, like they bring them back.
Should wear the jersey
1 more times. Oh yeah.
I forgot.
Still super jealous of that.
Yeah. I'll go my number 3. Another guy. I thought he was older than this. He's only 30. Jadeveon Clowney. I know hasn't ever been what he thought we'd be. That one tackle against Michigan made him millions. Great. But another guy to fill in till Gary's back. I think, if he's not expected to play, 90% of the snaps, I think he does so much better, that when he stays fresh like that. And with the, extra guys we got, I think he would be able to play 17 games. And I think he would produce and he'd be helpful. I don't know. He's like I said, I'd heard somebody say that if he tried on every single play, he'd be the best guy on the field, but that's obviously seems like that doesn't happen. Maybe that's not the case. I don't know. But I don't know what you think. I like Clowney. I always have. And I think it'd be, another guy, but I said too much money. So,
yeah, I mean, and the one thing that everybody had always talked about him, especially like coming out in colleges, was he wasn't just a good pass rusher, that he was also very stout against the run. And even last year on the Browns, like he had a higher run defense grade than he did a pass rush grade, So I'll never stop saying that the Packers need to add more to their defense to stop the run. So I agree that Clowney, maybe coming off the edge, he's not quite what he used to be, or like you said, use him situationally and keep him fresh. Even if you wanted to play this guy on first and second down, or, the rush downs, and to get them into a 3rd and long, then you take him off the field and you put on a Rashawn Gary or, Preston Smith or, that's smart. And I kind of wish I had him on my top 5. I think I think too, my mouth from him.
Oh yeah, no. And I get that. And I just, last year, with Myles Garrett on the other side too, that's something, whether he's not obviously going to like take all the pressure, but it just helps that if there's a guy that's, a legit threat, that he takes a little pressure off and helps, whether it's Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, whoever, or, I don't care. You put him on the ball, put him actually at defensive end, not an edge rusher.
Right.
And so anyways,
yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
All right. So my number 3, I have another wide receiver. I have Jarvis Landry. So I put Landry. Go ahead.
Did he sign with the Saints a 1-year deal? He was on my list, and then I was scrolling through, and he wasn't there. So I didn't know, because that's who I wanted to put down, because that's who I wanted for our vet receiver.
He is still a free agent according to Wikipedia.
Like I said, I was going
to say, I double checked all of my guys, but I was like, oh my God, did I forget to check Jarvis Landry? I was like, oh no.
No, that's good. So I'm glad you got him, because that's who I wanted. So perfect.
For sure. So I put Landry ahead of Hopkins because it's more realistic. I think even though Landry is he's 30 years old, right? But I think that Landry could do kind of like what the Packers were thinking last year when they signed, what's his name?
Sammy Watkins.
Thank you very much.
Don't compare those two.
No, but I mean, you think about what Sammy Watkins provided the Packers last year, right? Like he played for a couple games, got hurt, came back, didn't really do anything, and they let him go, right? But if they were to use Jarvis Landry in like a different way, like obviously, like we talked about last week with Joe, with having these young receivers out there and playing, and maybe, they go through a little bumps and bruises in the beginning of the season, they start making a lot of mistakes, but mistakes are how you learn, so if they're getting thrown into the fire, maybe they'll develop faster. So you can use Jarvis Landry as like what I was talking about when I was talking about DeAndre Hopkins is, it's 3rd down. It's like 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 5 or something like that. You put Jarvis Landry out there, have him, run a slant and pick up 1st down, and then you take him back off the field or something like that. Or you use him as like a decoy once you do that enough, keep him fresh. You're not playing him 60 to 80% of snaps or something like that. You just use them kind of like sparingly when you need them. And yeah, that's why. And I think he'd be cheap enough that the Packers could afford him. So that's why I have him as my number 3.
Did Jarvis Landry receiver or punt returner?
Oh, that is a great question. Because he was drafted by the Dolphins, and I just remember everybody kept saying he was slant boy. All he did was run slants, but I don't.
That's fine. I love slants.
Me too. I mean, look, like I said, if it serves a purpose, right? Like every player has their strengths and weaknesses, and it's not saying that Jarvis Landry wasn't a complete wide receiver. Like that was his thing. Like when he was being used that way in Miami, he was like, I feel like I'm a lot more of a complete receiver than they're using me out to be. He had like something like 100 catches for like 900 yards, so he was just like 9 yards every single time, But
yep.
It was effective. I mean, look,
oh yeah,
if it moves the chains, it moves the chains, Exactly.
Hey, before I say our last two, if you want to check out, or if you'd like to support the team, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/toilets to titles. We would appreciate the help. 5 different tiers, for the supporters that are out there. Thank you so much. You're what helped keep the lights on for us. So check that out if you would. We would appreciate it. So my number 2, Deion Jones. I don't know how he's not signed. Rookie of the year when he's, way back in like 2018 or whatever it was, or maybe earlier than that, 16. I don't remember when he got drafted. He's only 28. He always, I don't know. You can never have enough help on that side of the ball for me. It seems like the injuries creep up every year. I think he would help Quay Walker along as well. But maybe I'm wrong, but I don't. I've always been a fan of Deion Jones, and I don't know why he is still a free agent, to be honest with you. And I don't think he wouldn't want $15 million. I think you could get him for a good price, and I think he'd be very helpful.
Yeah. I think to me, maybe the only reason why he hasn't been signed is just because of his age. I mean, he's a little over 33 by the time the season starts. He'll be getting close.
No, he's 28.
You said Deion Jones?
Yeah.
What am I looking
young.
at? I am getting bad information from PFF.
Yeah, he's only 28.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, then I have no idea why he's not signed. Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the league for 7 years. So, yeah, he's a second rounder in 2016. Like I said, he won Rookie of the Year in 16. So, I don't know. There's got to be something, obviously, but
I don't know. Maybe there's some off the field things. I have no idea.
And I'm trying to look at the sports track thing, and it's really weird. He's not owed any money now. He's got some dead cap money, but it's not very much. He was getting paid a lot, or he had a lot of money coming to him when he was on the Falcons. In 2019, his dead cap was 19 million. In 2020 was 21 million. 21 was 17 million.
I know why I got there was another NFL player, Deion Jones. I forgot the E. It was just Dion Jones. And I looked at his birthday instead of Deion Jones with an E. And yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So I don't know. He seemed like he's a guy I'd love to have. So
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. But that's my number 2.
For my number 2, I have Shelby Harris. So obviously I know that the Packers have, drafted a bunch over the last 2 years for their defensive line or whatever, but it seems like they keep drafting these penetration style defensive linemen, which I get, you know what I mean? Like to make negative plays, you got to get into the backfield, right? So get penetration style defensive linemen, start making some disruption and try to get negative plays, whether it's tackles for loss or sacking the quarterback, right? But the team is not good at stopping the run. They haven't been for years.
So bad. And
they drafted, over the last 2 years, a couple of more defensive linemen that aren't known for stopping the run. Some of these guys are pretty big too, but they're not like nose tackles or space eaters, like the Packers should honestly be kind of gravitating toward. So I thought
I don't know how TJ Slayton isn't. He's a freaking monster of a man.
That's true. Well, this is like his 3rd year now. He's going into year 3.
This will be, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about him a couple of episodes ago. I think very highly of TJ Slayton. I think he came in.
Me too.
They took him in the 5th round?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. And they took him in the 5th round. And, I thought that he deserved to get drafted sooner than that. And honestly, his entire time in the league, he's just gotten better and better. So that could turn out to be, like a pretty solid 5th round pick for the Packers after a couple of years. But Shelby Harris, I mean, he's a very highly graded run defender. I think he's young enough that if he were to play well, that he would earn another contract with the Packers. Yeah, I mean, he's not that old that if he were to work out, like I could see him playing like another 2 or 3 years and, creating some stability on the defensive line and stopping the run until the Packers figure something else out. So, and I think he's he could be in the range that would be cheap enough for the Packers to not have to move anything around and, pick him up and try to give Jordan Love a chance to win some games, instead of just
That'd be nice.
having 195 rushing yards every game.
Yeah, no kidding.
Packers.
I'll say my number one. Byron Jones is who I have. He's probably the best corner on there. He almost looked like he lost a step last year, or maybe, I don't know. There's something happened, and he hasn't ever been as good as he was when he was on the Cowboys, but he's still a very, very good cornerback. But I think he probably wants too much money. I don't remember. He was getting paid a lot of money by the Dolphins.
I think it was top of market.
Yeah. And he hasn't really performed. I know I just forgot their other corner who makes a lot of money now.
Xavier.
Yes.
Xavier Howard.
No, Xavier Howard. Yeah. I was gonna say Rhodes too. Xavier Howard. I mean, but it's the same thing. Like I said with Casey Hayward. Byron Jones is 31 years old. He doesn't have to be the guy. He's not going to be on. I would imagine most of the time he'd be double teaming a guy anyways. So he is going to be on the number one receiver because that's what it feels like that Barry does a lot. He'll put two guys on their number one and then Jair by himself. But even if not, I don't know. He's too good to be out there, but he's going to want all the money we have and some. And I don't think he's worth it, to be honest. Like I said, he looked like he almost lost a step last year, but if you could get it for the right price, he's definitely worth seeing if he actually lost a step.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, like you said, on the Cowboys, I mean, he was really, really good. I mean, the Dolphins,
once.
Yeah. The Dolphins thought that they had something with the two of them. Like they could have been one of the best duos in the NFL, but then, he got injured. And then, I listened to another podcast where the guy he does a podcast with another, he's like a Bills fan, and the main guy, he's a Dolphins fan. And he was talking about it, and they kind of got the drift that like maybe he had kind of signed his contract and kind of checked out, like once he got the bag, he like didn't really care anymore. And he was taking a long time to come back from the injury, like longer than he was expected to and stuff. So I don't know, that could have been a complication. It could have been what he was saying. But actually, I have my number one as another defensive back, but I have John Johnson.
Okay. Yep.
So John Johnson, he signed that contract a couple of years ago with the Browns, and he played really well for the Rams. Obviously, earned that contract with the Browns. And last year, wasn't his best year. But if you look at how he graded out compared to the Green Bay Packers safeties, he was better than all of them except for Rudy Ford, including Adrian Amos. Now, Amos had a pretty good run defense grade, but we need better coverage in the back. And that was the big problem with the safeties last year. They just looked lost. I mean, if you look at how the Packers graded out for their safeties, it was honestly really embarrassing. They were all failure grades except for Rudy Ford, and Rudy Ford at one point got benched too. So the Packers let Adrian Amos walk. They didn't really do anything to solve the problem. They brought in Jonathan Owens, and Jonathan Owens had a similar grade to Darnell Savage last year, which was awful. I mean, Darnell Savage got benched, and they thought that they would just bring in Jonathan Owens and not skip a beat or something. But John Johnson.
I have some hope for Jonathan Owens. A lot of tackles, and I don't know. I just had to feel like last year with the Texans was a kind of a mess for a lot of guys. I think
that's
so.
fair.
I'm hoping that things change because I don't know. I like him a lot, so I don't know. I just hope that will help. I don't think that's the answer. Like you said, I think what you're saying now is the answer.
I couldn't agree more. The way you said it is exactly how I feel. Like I'm hopeful, and I am obviously I think he's a good player too, but I don't think he's the answer. I think John Johnson could be an answer where, Jonathan Owens could be an interesting piece to bring in to see what happens. John Johnson's a starting safety in this league, and with the Packers taking one safety very late in the NFL draft, I just figured that they would pick up, if they were going to pick up a veteran, I thought it was going to be at safety. And the fact that John Johnson's still out there and the Packers still have this like huge need at safety. It's just like, why isn't this my number one pick? Like, it has to be my number one. Like, this is the one that makes the most sense. He's not going to cost a ton. Actually, you know what? You have Spotrac open?
Yeah.
Okay. See what his recommended salary would be.
Let me find it because I was looking at something else when you were going on there. Yeah, I that the only like my one question about the safety thing is like, did they see something? I can't remember what weeks it was when Darnell Savage started to play and like he played a little better kind of for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when it was though. Like it was down the stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, did they see something that they like, enough to, to be like, it's going to be okay. I mean, probably not, but why can't I find this guy on here anywhere? There's a couple other good safeties out there. I mean, nothing crazy, but
yeah.
Well, I can't. I'm still scrolling here. Okay, I'll keep scrolling while we're doing this. I want to stop. The one thing I did want to do, there was a couple other ones like that we were like, oh yeah, that'd be cool, but it really won't ever happen. Dalvin Cook, why not have 3 awesome running backs, right? I know that doesn't make any sense to do. It'd be funny because it's in the division, but you're talking about like safety beforehand. When Jesse Bates was available, he was like the number one guy I wanted.
Oh yeah, me too.
Obviously the money wasn't ever going to work. But that was the guy that I wanted really bad.
Absolutely.
But and then there's a couple other, if Budda Baker wants out, go get him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, whatever happened with that? I mean, I knew he had,
he was at the mini camp and everything. He's fine. He's there.
Yeah. I guess the trade talks just kind of fizzled out.
I don't even feel like, to me, there wasn't ever actually trade talks done. He just doesn't want to be there, but he's still showing up.
Right.
So, that would be, I don't know how people aren't calling.
Yeah, me neither.
You know what I mean? I can't find it. It's not showing. Like I've scrolled
That's
through
all
this.
right.
Like
I just looked at his last contract. He signed for like $11 million a year with the Browns. He's a little bit older now. You think you could probably pick him up for 1 year, 7, And if he turns out to be really good on the Packers, kind of like some of these other free agents that we've picked up over the last couple of years, he just kind of like reinvents himself in Green Bay, then you extend him or whatever, and great. Now you have a starting safety. You don't have to worry about drafting one high next year. It just makes so much sense to me. How could I not pick him to be my number one?
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's hard. And I saw another strong safety, that Daniel Sorensen. He was never like really, really good, but he was a decent safety, probably better than some of the guys we have. And he's still out there, and he'd be super, super cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know what their plan is at the safety position. And I guess TBD, I guess we'll figure it out.
We're going to figure it out in training camp. You know what I mean? So
I don't know. We got 9 weeks, or was it 8 or 9 weeks till the season starts? So,
right.
Whatever, I guess,
I think it's the biggest need on the team right now,
Yeah. Yep. Oh, definitely.
Depending on what happens with Jordan Love, which again, I don't think he's going to be awful. I don't. There's just no way. You don't sit behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years and get ready and be in the same system for 3 years and come out and just fall flat on your face. It would just the odds of that happening are so slim. Now, I don't think he's going to come out and be amazing. You know what I mean? But I'm confident he's not going to be terrible.
Yeah, I feel you. But well, do you got anything else before we get out of here?
No.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That was good. I enjoyed talking some free agent stuff. It's fun to see different ideas. So please check out everything. Check all the stuff on YouTube. Like and subscribe. We would appreciate that. Be looking out for that Rival Fantasy episode. And we will have a Packers offseason breakdown probably maybe the end of this week, maybe next week, depending on when our guests get back to me. So be looking for that. There's stuff coming out all the time on our YouTube. Check it out. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter at Toilet Titles. It's at Toilet Titles and everything. Thread, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. So check out Patreon, patreon.com/Toilet Titles. Check out the website, toiletstyles.com. And Apple review would be appreciated. So a 5-star one if you don't mind. So with that being said, we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in.